Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video on the channel. And in today's video I wanted to talk about something that's kind of been on my mind for a little bit now, and it's really it kind of ties into something that I heard about. I think it happened like a week ago or so, but there was like news on one of the Gears of War games. I think one of the is actually a remake of one of the Gear of War games. I think the first game. I think it's a remake of the first game, and there was news about that coming out. And what was interesting about that news is that it was announced actually that not only will it be coming to Xbox consoles and PC, it'll be also coming to PlayStation 5 consoles. And so that kind of like spurred this thought in my head, and you've been seeing it a lot, especially with Xbox, because Xbox at this point I feel like is not even trying to necessarily play the exclusivity game at this point, because a lot of their games, like if you just notice, a lot of the games, because they even recently they put Forza on PS5. They put Indiana Jones, one of their newer first party games, I think, they put that on PlayStation recently. They've been, especially with Xbox, they've been really focusing, I think, on putting their games out on every platform, I feel like. And it's kind of gotten me to think about something, and it's gotten to the conclusion, or it's gotten to the thing of like, or the question of, is exclusive, or I can't even say the word, is exclusivity, or I guess just exclusive games, or is exclusive games dying, I guess, or the idea of having exclusive games on certain consoles, is the idea of that dying? Because you see a lot nowadays, especially with Xbox, even PlayStation, to a certain degree, they do it kind of. I mean, like, it hasn't gotten to the point where PlayStation is putting like games on Xbox or anything like that. Like, you're not seeing like Uncharted or God of War on like an Xbox console or anything like that. But you have been seeing even PlayStation putting their games on PC. Like, you know, when one of their exclusive games come out, it really only takes like a year, or maybe like sooner than that, for their games to come on PC as well. And I also really wanted to talk about, is this a good thing for the games industry? Is exclusivity dying a good thing? Is the idea of being able to share games on different platforms a good idea? Because I feel like you have a lot of people who have the mindset of, these games are supposed to be on this console because it's been like that for years and years and years now. And I mean, I guess if you want to go back, you had things like the console wars and stuff like that. You had things like PlayStation versus Xbox, where you had like a certain group of people who sided with one console, and you had a group of people who sided with another console. And, you know, back then you had, you know, Xbox had their exclusive games. They had Halo, Gears of War, they had all these games, and, you know, PlayStation had their stuff. And Nintendo, like, it's so interesting because Nintendo nowadays, they're still like that. Like, they're still kind of like old school minded, where like, if you're gonna play a Nintendo game, it has to be on a Nintendo system. But nowadays you just see, especially with Xbox and PlayStation, you kind of just see them like not even, kind of Xbox to more of an extent, but you do see a lot more games coming to other platforms. And honestly, I can understand from both sides where people are coming from. From one side, I can understand that people want certain games to be on certain consoles because, you know, one, it builds kind of competition to a certain extent, because, you know, if you have certain games on a certain console, that just makes that makes people want to go out and buy that console more, because there are certain games that you can't get anywhere else that you can only get on that certain console. But at the same time, I do think, especially in an age where just like the cost of games and consoles are going up, I feel like being able to play games wherever you can is definitely a positive thing nowadays, because a lot of these, especially the consoles that are coming out, you have to pay like almost up to towards like what, $600 to $700 for certain these consoles. And so being able to, like, you know, if you have a PC or if you have a PlayStation and you don't want to go out and buy a $600 $700 Xbox just to play Halo, or not Halo, but like Gears of War or Indiana Jones, and if you have that PlayStation 5 or you have that PC, you're able to play that game without having to go out and buy an expensive console. And so like I do see the positives in that regard. But just going back to the idea of certain games being played on certain consoles, I just feel like that idea, and for me personally, I still do like the idea of certain games on certain consoles, because yes, it does build a certain sense of competition, and it does build a certain sense of, I guess, branding and self. Because, you know, if you really think about it, like, Xbox as a brand is, I feel like, kind of, I want to say lost. I want to use the word lost, because their whole slogan now is that like everything is an Xbox, or everything that you use from like your TV to like a laptop to your phone is considered an Xbox. So that's like their whole thing. And they also have Game Pass, so that's another thing that they, you know, that's another thing that's a part of their brand and everything. But it really is interesting to think about just where I guess the marketplace of these game companies are nowadays, because obviously, you know, like I said, back then you had certain games on certain consoles, and now you just don't see that anymore. And it is interesting because even Phil Spencer said it himself in an interview, I think what Kind of Funny at one point. He said, "We lost the worst generation to lose in the Xbox generation, where everybody built their digital library of games." And I think he's right, because that generation was kind of the worst generation to lose, especially with, you know, I mean, at that point you had Xbox and PlayStation, and at the start of that console generation, just the way Xbox kind of handled certain things and the certain ways that they would be implementing certain things, and you couldn't share games with other people. I mean, there's literally a video of PlayStation not mocking, but kind of like making fun of Xbox in that moment, because, you know, you couldn't share games with Xbox, or you couldn't share games with people on Xbox.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
Thanks.
PlayStation.
And you had to be always online all the time at that point as well. And so PlayStation really took advantage of that whole situation. It was in that moment, it was they were able to kind of like boost what they were trying to do in that moment, and PlayStation really did win that console generation. And I feel like it really affected Xbox, not even for that generation, but just like for the whole company as a whole, because you still have kind of, I feel like Xbox still not fully recovering from that situation, because you have them still trying to figure out, you know, what is this company about, like what are the games that we put out, like, because you hear the whole thing of like Xbox not having any games on their console, or like where's the first party games on Xbox consoles. And I feel like at this point they're not even really trying to do that anymore. They're not trying to compete with PlayStation or Nintendo at all. And even in the interview again, there's a quote from Phil Spencer that perfectly sums up what I'm trying to say. We're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo. There isn't really a great solution or win for us. And I know that will upset a ton of people, but the truth of the matter is, when you're third place in the console marketplace and the top 2 players are as strong as they are and have certain cases of very discreet focus on doing deals and other things, that kind of makes being Xbox hard for us as a team. That's on us, not on anybody else. And even with like PlayStation, like they I feel like with PlayStation it's a lot more complicated because they still put out exclusive games to their platforms first, but like, I mean, nowadays you see whenever they put out an exclusive game, like probably like a year or maybe less than that, like you see the game on like PC and everything. So like, yeah, man, I mean, like just the idea of exclusive games on certain consoles, I feel like that idea is dying to a certain degree, but I mean, is that necessarily a bad thing? I don't know. I mean, like, I mean, just the, you know, having the capability to play your games like anywhere you want it does seem like a positive in certain cases, especially if you're not trying to go out and buy all these consoles and everything just to play certain games on certain consoles and stuff like that. But like, I can see the other side of there not being competition like that, because you have all these games on all these platforms. It's just like, well, okay, so what's the point of like going out and buying an Xbox or going out and buying a PlayStation where I could just play most of these games on PC? And I didn't even talk about PC. Like, yeah, PC, like, I mean, Xbox already puts their games on PC day one. I mean, and even with PlayStation, you know, they put their games on PC as well. I mean, like, a lot of people don't even need an Xbox or a PlayStation if you're willing to, you know, wait for PlayStation games to come on PC. You really just need a PC if you really think about it. But like, yeah, just this whole concept, I thought, or the, you know, is exclusive. Do I think exclusive games are dying to a certain degree? Yes, I do think, because, you know, there is money to be found in having all your games on like certain platforms or on most platforms, because that just opens up a more, you know, opportunities for people to play and experience your game. And is that a good thing? Yes, I do think that is a good thing, in my opinion. But, you know, I do think a certain sense of, I guess, maybe branding or brand is kind of lost in that case, because, you know, I mean, once we get to Halo being on, I mean, because Halo is already on PC and stuff like that, but I mean, we already have Gears of War like coming to a PlayStation console. Once it gets to Halo coming to like a PlayStation console or something like that, then you really are going to start like questioning like, okay, what's the point of even Xbox as like a console anymore? Because I don't need an Xbox console to play any of these Xbox games. And so, yeah, man, it is kind of a hard balancing, I feel like, act of it, because like, one, I feel like you do want to like establish yourself, or you want to have games that establish your brand as a company, but like, obviously, you know, I mean, I guess you don't necessarily need a console to do that. You just need games to do that. But it does bring into question, like, why do we need these consoles that cost $700 to $600 where we could just get a PC and play most of these games? And so it does kind of open up questions like that. But yeah, man, that's really all I wanted to talk about in this video. Leave down in the comment section below your thoughts on the whole idea of, do you think exclusive games are dying, or do you think exclusive, I can never say that word, exclusivity on games, do you think that is kind of going away now? And what are your thoughts and opinions on that? Do you think that's a good thing, a bad thing? Let me know in the comments section down below. And yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here, and I will see you guys in the next one. So yeah, bye.